Welcome to the Pen and Paper Hive. I am your host Wolf and I am a game master since 2001. And today's topic is how to be a good player. Well, how to be a good player, there are, I think, at least two things that are very important for me as a game master that my players always should bring to the table, and I actually communicate this very clearly, and I have thrown out players that weren't unable to deliver. Especially when playing Pathfinder 2nd edition, I cannot remember or I cannot learn all the different skills and abilities that players can use with the success ratings. It's too much. My players should be able to learn their character, and this is what you as a player really should do. Learn your character. You shouldn't learn everything of other characters, the detailed rulings or whatever, but prepare as a player. You only have to do one thing. One thing, really. You manage your character. Nothing more. One thing. A game master has to do so much more, and it infuriates me when I have 6 months into the campaign, my player asks me, how does my backstabbing work again? Oh, you asked me that same thing the last time. The time before. You have that since level 1. Why can't you fucking write it down and read it? Really? I really had players like that and they were thrown out. Really, I can't deal with those players. I don't like those players because you have one thing to do, and it's to learn your character. Especially for Pathfinder. If you want to shove someone in Pathfinder, you got damn right when I will ask you, how does shove work? Tell me. And you're sitting there, yeah, I want to shove it. How does it work? And I'm like, okay, I'll look it up for you. Yes, of course. Yeah. And I sit there, I look it up like very quickly. It doesn't take me much time because I know where I'm looking. Sometimes I use Google keywords PF2 together. Then I use the action shove, and sometimes I let be done with that, search it up, go to Archives of Nethys, because Google is faster looking up things on the Archives of Nethys instead of Archives of Nethys. Look it up and explain my player, okay, it's you use D20 and acrobatics or athletics, you decide, and it's against your enemy's reflex save. Yeah, let's go. If you have a success, this happens. If you have a critical success, this happens. If you have a failure, this happens. And if you have a critical failure, this happens. I can't remember all of this. It's too much, really. It's not like, oh yeah, you're gonna play for 3 to 4 years and you will remember everything. No, you won't. If you have eidetic memory, sure, maybe you will, but usually you don't. Even after years and years and years, because it's too much. I actually wrote down which skill has how many actions you can do with it, and it's a lot. It's really a lot, and that's what I'm expecting from my players. And if they don't deliver, they are gone. I see that within the first sessions already, who really invests the time and who not. The way my forum posts when I am looking for players is built up, it's filled with all the informations, and only players that read through those will even ever get to my table. And that way I already get those that invest the time, so they are worth that I am investing time for them. So learn your character, really. It's all about when you are gonna use shove a lot of time, you should have the rule and the link to the rule right then and there. You shouldn't remember it, but you should be able to give those informations out in a whim, in a split second, like, oh yeah, no problem, there it is. I copy paste it in the chat and it says it's this against the save, and yeah, let's see, I throw my dice, there it is. I have 56, he has reflex of 40, that makes it a critical success, and this happens. Done. It will take time, of course, because sure, you need a couple of seconds to explain what will happen and what is to be rolled, but usually that's it. Even I, as a game master, have to prepare specific actions if I want to use them. I write down my notes like, I want to use grapple, so I better should know how grapple works. And to this day, I am running Pathfinder 2 over a year, and I still know the success ratings for grapple, even when using it so much. Because usually monsters have features that say they grapple. Done. That a player that wanna freeze themselves from the grapple needs to either roll an athletics, attack, or acrobatics, athletics, or a simple attack roll. It's I don't know the success ratings for that. I know with a normal success you free yourself from that, and that your action is still counted as an attack even when you use acrobatics, but that's all about that. I know the gist of things, or just of things, and the detailed information is usually presented to me from the players. I don't know what a rogue on level 6 can do with the specific actions. There is so much in D&D 5th editions. Easy. I know every character class to level 3. Everything, really. I know how the things work. When someone asks me how does second wind work, you give up a bonus action or do a bonus action and do second wind, which gives you HP back. If a rogue asks me, how was backstabbing working again? When you attack with advantage, your backstab works. Oh, even with when I cast, being an arcane rogue, yeah, of course, it says attack. If you attack with a spell that has clear attack values, like you have to do a range attack, touch attack, whatever, sure, your thing says when you have advantage on attacks, you get your bonus backstabbing dice 2d6 or whatever, or the double attack for whatever it is. I know it because it's super easy. It doesn't change. It changes up for the most classes with level 3, where they can use a subclass or a way of what was it called? Yeah, let's call it subclass. Yeah, that's a bit too much to know because there are actually a lot of, but this is still very easy. That will come after time. The knowledge, but Pathfinder 2 has way too much, and everything has success ratings. It's not just simple, if you succeed this happens, if you not succeed this happens. No, it's often enough if you have critical, if you have non-critical. It's really something that you as a player should do. Please learn your character, know their skills, especially after a couple of sessions. It's not asked too much, really. That alone makes you a super awesome player on my tables, at least. When you come to me and say, I grapple him, and grappling functions like this. And when I say, oh, you have a critical success, you say, aha, I can grab my enemy and move with him 1 or 2 tiles. Yes, I will be super happy as a game master when this day comes. Even with my veteran players, they still tend to ask me how things work, and they don't do it rather often. They know their characters, but sometimes they ask me, oh, I would like to grapple, I forgot it, how does it work? And nowadays I usually say, okay, we skip your turn, next, look it up, you're unsure what you're doing, look it up, then you know it, next turn, next player, go. That way they are learning and they are preparing much more and much better. This is what a rant. I think this was a little bit of a rant. Second tip I want to give you that makes you a very beloved player to all the game masters out there when you take notes. I may come up with names that I don't remember the next time. I already have a huge amount of notes I'm managing, and I sometimes forget to write down something quickly because I am acting out, and it happens regularly. I usually tend to, of course, get my notes together and add the informations I created on the spot maybe, but sometimes I forget names. And I had my Pathfinder 2 group use this. We had two young boys that were werewolves, and they should have killed them. And they first killed one and then revived them or resurrected them, and they had names. They were two brothers, and I invented names on the spot. Like, I didn't think that they really would take them captive and figure a way out how to use them or whatever. And I did not prepare any names for them, so I came up with two, like Mike and Michael, the names, and then I forgot about them as we went along. Had a huge in-game discussion about why we should kill them with an NPC, and it wasn't an extremely good roleplay heavy evening. I was happy, players were happy, and if I didn't have a player taking note about those two werewolf boys, I would totally have forgotten. I was so invested with one of the NPCs being there and talking a lot with them, the players, because they talk to the NPC and I of course talk back. So I forgot to take the notes about those two boys, and they took them in. Now they use them as messengers for the upcoming war, and if a player did not write down the names of them, I would have forgotten. Or I had another two NPCs in their small village they created, called, I say the German names, Sabine and Michael. An old lady, a weaver lady, and Michael being a prospector and working with metals, let's say a smith. And they were killed by assassins the last game session. And I was sitting there as a game master. I remembered them. I remembered that they existed because I introduced them. But at the time we were switching to Foundry and I forgot to transfer the notes. And I didn't find my notes in OneNote about them, so I didn't know how they called. But I knew they were the only two humans in the whole settlement. They had the others are orcs, and they have kobolds. There were actually two more humans, a small daughter and her father. But I told them you only had one old lady that got killed and this other guy. My player came up to me and said, "Oh, you mean Sabine, the old weaver, and the prospector Michael?" And I said, yeah, those two, they were killed by the raid of the assassins, and they were super bummed out about it. Like, oh no, we really liked them. Especially Michael, just a small note to them, was a drug user, and he gave up on drugs, lending money and stuff for drugs. And they were bummed out that those two got killed while the assassin raided their settlement. But without a player taking notes, I would have forgotten or had searched a long time until I found my notes in OneNote again, because I made a note in OneNote that said, please open up a specific note for NPCs like these. And I forgot about it, and yeah. Oh, yeah, it was hilariously for me. The game was a little bit shaming too. Because usually I am very, very well prepared and very good at improvising things, but without having a players taking notes, I would be lost totally. And this will make you a very awesome player if you take notes. You don't have to write down everything, but key things. NPC names, what they're doing, and such stuff. Usually game masters have their notes where they write down the stuff, but it can happen that we as game masters forget about things, especially when you need a lot of our attention, because you talk with NPCs, you switch topics, you do actions, and in the heat of game mastery or action, it can be lost very quickly. It's something I am ashamed about very often, that I miss out the things and I have to ask my player, hey, last session I introduced this cleric to you and I forgot the name. Did you write it down? And, oh yeah, here you have the name. And I really love those players because they help me out a lot. Because as a game master, you already invest so much time in creating adventures and stuff. Sometimes it just can happen that you forgot things. And those two things make you a very, very good player when you learn your character and when you actually write down notes. Yeah, I hope you got a little bit of inspiration out of it to be a better player in the future, learning character and taking some notes. One last thing I could give game masters out there, have what happened in the last session always presented by the players. That way, one player once told me that my world was so awesome and great to walk in and learn things about it. It was super easy for each of my 5 players to recreate the last evening, and they were even happy to do this, to say, oh, I want this time, no, I want to present the last evening, you can do the next time. That they really are super happy with presenting the last evening. Like, this is something where taking notes is really important, that you remember those things. And as a game master, that gives you valuable feedback. If players are like, oh yeah, do you know what happened last time? I can't clearly remember. Yeah, no, me neither. Then your adventures are not really memorable, and that way it's harsh to learn that way. Of course, I have those sessions too where players say, yeah, what happened last time? I don't remember. I think we did this and that. And this tells me that this evening wasn't particularly memorable. So this is an indicator if players really enjoy your worlds, your adventures, your informations that you give them. You will have good times, good days, good evenings, and you will have bad ones. It's a fact. I am since 20 years a game master, and people often tell me how good I am by creating those adventures and living and breathing worlds. But some evenings they are telling me, yeah, man, this evening wasn't really good for me. And even I have this happening regularly, not like just every 10 sessions. It's sometimes you will always have a player that didn't like the evening, or the group who says, yeah, we couldn't get along this evening, it wasn't very awesome, but it was okay. And that's good, that's fine. You will always have bad and good days. So don't get too worried if sometimes players can't recapture the last gaming session. So don't do too much, or don't interpret too much into it. But usually when players are fighting each other to present the last evening, you really can be sure you did something good. And even in this group, I had evenings where the players said, it wasn't too good, but it was still fun. So I really hope you got something out of this very long rant and still got out some inspiration. If not, give it a dislike. If you got out some inspiration, give it a like. And if you don't want to miss out any content I'm throwing out every Monday and a Friday, please consider subscribing. And if you don't miss out anything, just hit the bell. Until then, I wish you a great time and have a +1 on your next roll. And this time I do this. Whee! Oh God. No, yes. Oh, yeah. There I am, and bye. Yeah. Just think I am gone. I'm invisible. Casting invisibility.